Halito, Sio, Hishte, Sahostifo Dr. J. Ayakanaji. I'm Dr. J, and I'm a teacher.
Oh, yes, I love you, honey dear. I don't care if you marry 16 times. I'll get you, ya, hey, yo, ha. We, ya, we, ya.
So, historians always try to understand what happened in the past by asking questions. More specifically, historians ask particular kinds of questions. Contextualization. What was the historical context for a specific historical development or process? Comparison. How similar were certain things? What differences existed? Causation. Why did something happen? What were the effects of something? Continuity and change. What stayed the same over time? How did something change over time? If you watch Khan Academy World History lesson on Native American societies before contact, you'll notice that they divide up the tribes according to regions. Well, this doesn't always work, and here's why. Because clan structures are changeable. Tribes are changeable. For instance, in Oklahoma, there's a tribe called the Cheyenne and Arapaho. Now, both of these tribes speak really different languages. They're both Algonquian, but they have a very different sound to them, if you will. Now, as a result, those two clan structures came together and merged. Now, what happened there? Well, we don't know. All we do know is the Cheyenne state that they originally were agricultural tribe and that they were north. But when they moved in with the Arapaho in the Colorado area because of the buffalo and because of horses, as a result, they became a plains tribe. This is how clans will adjust themselves to whatever is going on inside their time frame that they existed. If you watch the Khan Academy lesson on the time places in tribal arrival on Turtle Island, they say they put it around 13,000 years ago. Now, what's interesting and what's not spoken of at that time is that farming is generally understood to have begun about 11,000 years ago. That means that tribes were here 1,700 years before people began farming, and therefore before civilization even began. Writing. We know that tribes were here long before cuneiform was used. So were we here 7,982 years before anyone could even write a textbook? That's probably true. That's a comparison and a contextualization. The wheel. Historians agree that the wheel was invented for pottery about 3,500 years before the Common Era. That means we were here 7,482 years before Conestoga wagons would cross the tribal property on Turtle Island. In Chapter 2, we'll discuss Eurocentrism. Corn domestication. In Chapter 5, we will deal with the Columbian Exchange in detail. Corn domestication happened around 5,000 years ago. Over 500 varieties of corn now exist on Turtle Island. So when you learn the lesson, if you watch Khan Academy, when they discuss the Three Sisters farming, it should be noted that when they planted corn, they would plant squash, and the squash would prevent erosion of the soil. And as the corn grew, they would plant beans, and that would grow up the stalk. And that's called the Three Sisters. Well, all tribes practiced some form of farming that was unique to them, and most tribes were very successful in agriculture. The Taino. We're going to be moving into some areas that discuss the Spanish Black Legend, specifically the contact with the Taino tribes that were inside the Caribbean. If you watch Khan Academy's lesson on the consequences of Columbus's voyage, they will note that there were 1 to 3 million Taino in the Caribbean. 100 years later, there was only 200 of them left. So, what historian now today could say, why is this not called the Taino Holocaust in textbooks? So we're going to begin to learn how to write a paragraph. Basically, we're going to make a claim or statement about a subject. Then we're going to name the author, book, or website. We're going to explain briefly the situation. We're going to embed the quotation by making the quote as a part of the sentence. We're going to cite the quotation internally with the author, book, or website. And we're going to comment on the quotation. Here's an example body paragraph. The Taino are important because they were the first tribal people of Turtle Island contacted by Europeans. The website Khan Academy Lessons, entitled Consequences of Columbus's Voyage on the Taino in Europe, explains that the Taino were generous and kind. Columbus knew he could enslave the Taino. He wrote in his letter to the Queen that she could have as many slaves as she chooses to send for, meaning the Taino could be captured easily. The Taino, who were originally around 1 to 3 million people, within 100 years had declined to 200 people. I believe the death of millions of Taino is the Holocaust. There's an example of how I want you to write a paragraph.